Best of r/entitled parents episode 150. Subscribe for Reddit videos daily. This is my first post and on mobile, so please excuse any spelling errors. Ever since I was young my father has been in a chat to me, but recently it reached a peak. For many years he has caused my grades to go down by forcing me to do chores all day to where I don't have time to do my work, then yells and bitches and takes things away from me when they are low. He also hit me when I was younger for touching his keyboard. Next day my mom packed as much shit into a car as she could and took me with her, thank the Lord. But when I was about 5 or 6 I started to go back to see him, and the bullshit I mentioned previous happens along with him never being around, always doing coke, etc. So recently I had enough. When I was at my mom's I told him I didn't want to see him anymore, causing a huge argument with him, saying he would get the cops to try and take me with him. Legally a cop cannot make me come, I would have to go willfully. Then later he ended up saying in quotes, "Wow, I guess my son just died." About a week later I texted to ask for my stuff that I and my mom bought, and he say he would give it to me that weekend. That was about 4 weeks ago and still nothing. I don't know if I should call the cops to charge him for withholding personal belongings or not. Thank you. Next. Backstory. My uncle is a doctor, and he shared this story with me and the rest of our family. The cast: you, Uncle K, Karen S, security guard. The story: a few days ago, while you was working in the hospital, he was sanitizing some used PPE, personal protective equipment, as his hospital was having a shortage of them. He had just finished cleaning them when Karen busted the doors open, and, after waiting less than 10 seconds, shouted, "Excuse me?" You saw her and asked her what she needed. K: I need some face masks. You, thinking that she may be collecting for a family member. How many? Note: my uncle wasn't supposed to even offer her any masks, but he believed that she may actually need them. K: 30 or 40. You, flabbergasted, "May I ask why you need so many?" K: I want to go shopping. Sitting at home these weeks has been the worst. You, first of all, you shouldn't be leaving your house in the first place unless it is totally necessary. Second, why do you need so many? K: I want to go shopping every day, and I don't want to reuse masks like a peasant. You, I'm sorry, but we are already suffering from a shortage of supplies. I can't give you PPE unless it is absolutely necessary. K: well, why did you ask how many I need if you weren't going to give me any? You, I thought that you needed them, not that you wanted to go shopping. At this point Karen runs up to you and knocks over his cart of freshly sanitized PPE and starts to grab as many as she possibly can. The cart being knocked down makes a very large noise, attracting the attention of security. S: Mom, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. K: this is your job. I need these to go shopping. S is forced to drag Karen outside as she screams about how she'll sue the hospital for not catering to her needs and assaulting her. U is then forced to re-sanitize the PPE, which takes him almost 2 hours. TLDR, Karen demand that hospital give her 40 masks so she can shop. Gets her butt kicked. Thank you. Next. So, backstory. My parents were having a garage sale, and it was a big one. We had to take out our truck and car to make room. We had items in total sold in about $1,000. I asked if I can ride my quad around. They said that I can't drive over the driveway, for safety, and I can't do my normal course, which I listened to them. After a while driving in the backyard, which I do to warm up the engine because it would like to turn off when cold, I moved to the front yard. Some moms brought their kids, and some were staring, so I went over near the driveway to them, and the kid wanted to try the quad, so I let him rev it, not ride it, obviously. I went my ways, and after a while, a SUV pulls over on the road like other people, and gets out her 5-year-old son, and the first thing he sees or points at is my quad. I believe he said that he wanted one of those. For a backstory, I have rode quads since I was 6. I only wrecked in a total of 5 times. Broke someone's arm, without anyone knowing, and my sister did a barrel roll crash. The quad was messed up, so nobody else can ride it but me. Everything got fixed, but a crack in the handlebar plastic, and some scratches. Back to the story. The kid points to the quad, guessing he said that he wanted one, and I went over fast, but slowed immediately, just to show off. I go over and say hi to both of them. I turned off the quad so I can hear them, and I answered some questions from both of them, and the kid asked if he can try, and I let him rev it. The mom helped him up, and I tried turning the quad on, and it turned on, but I accidentally let go of the brake, and it went forward about a yard on the road, so I went backwards and apologized, but the mom looked paranoid. I showed the kid the throttle, but the mom stops her kid, and it went like this. "You can't ride that," the EM says. I asked why and she said, "Almost ran my angle over." Her kid was about 5 feet away from the quad, so he was nowhere near my tires. I said, "He wasn't near any of my tires," and she of course cut me off. EM, "I don't care, you still were near him. You shouldn't have this. He should have it better than you, since he can drive better than you." At the time, I was 13, and drove quads for 7 years. I told her that I drove for 7 years, and she said, "Bullshit, you look like you're 10. I got mad at that point. I tried turning the quad back on as it stalled. It wouldn't budge, so I went down for the choke, and flicked it up. While I was doing that, EM grabbed my keys, and put it in her pockets. I go to turn the key, but it isn't there. I look around, and asked her where my keys went. She said the same thing. "I still don't think you should drive." That made me realize she took them. Me, give MEMYYY keys back. I emphasized might to make it in her mind that it is hers. I take off my helmet, and reveal my hearing aids. Remember my hearing aids for now on. I go to her and ask for my keys again, and she shoved me back, and I look at her pockets and find a bulge of my keys. I try reaching for her pocket and she pushes me back, and screams the casual line, "Help, he is assaulting me." Obviously trying to make a scene and people onto her side. My dad looks over, and sees me and her shoving each other. He runs over and asked what happened, and the dialogue went like this. Me, "She saint cut off by Karen." EM, "He assaulted me, "No I didn't, you stole my keys for my quad." EM, "No I didn't. You run over my son." Dad, "Both of you shut the hell up." A drill sergeant type yell, "Silence." Dad, "I the legend. What happened?" Me, "The kid wanted to rev my quad, so I tried starting my quad up, but I accidentally let off the brake when it was on gas, and the quad went up a yard on the road, and I reversed back, and then she accused me of almost hurting her son, and when I tried starting it up again with percussion, she took my key." I'm trying to put what I think I said. While this happened, a guy comes down to us. Cue heaven music. As he saved me. His name would be Sar for a savior. Sar, "I saw what happened." Dad, "You did? Then tell me what happened." He told my dad about the same story as mine, and Karen gets red hot in anger. My dad asked for my keys back, and she took it out of her pocket, but threw it in the yard. Luckily it had a big chain, and said to me, "Go get the keys, mister." Mechanical ears. I knew she was making fun of me, so I said, "Go get a husband, you single idiot." Because she didn't have a wedding ring, she stomped off, and drove away. I feel bad for that kid. He just wanted to press a throttle. Never saw the Karen again, and me and my dad kept making fun of her. We thanked Sar, and all was good. I was on mobile at the time, so there might be spelling errors in the story. Edit. Also, she said before she took my keys, when she said I shouldn't be riding, that I am a dangerous driver, and pointed to the damage. Thank you. Next. Backstory. This happened in 2015 and still makes me wonder how dumb people are. I was on holiday with my mum and dad in Spain for a week. To make sure our house stayed well maintained, we would give 2-3 copies of our house key to our neighbors and told them to make sure nothing is taken. One of them was Karen, who was the only person in her family who was entitled. The story. So my family was back from our holiday, and by the time we got back we were so tired we left the luggage in the hall and went straight to our rooms to sleep. It was about 3 hours later when we heard something like glass break in our living room. If you have read my other stories then you would know 8-play airsoft, so I had a pistol with me. I took it with it loaded with BBs, airsoft bullets/pellets, and went downstairs with my dad, who was looking for his airsoft rifle but it wasn't in its case, so he followed me down with me. I walked into the room and I see Karen trying to rip the TV off the wall. In the process she knocked over a glass vase which made a loud crack that went through the house. The conversation went like this. Me, what the F do you think you're doing? Karen, borrowing your TV, what does it look like, Dad? You are trespassing. Get off my property now, Karen. You gave me a key, so I have a right to take all your stuff, as having a key means I own this house, so go away. At this point Karen notices the gun and goes white. I take advantage and say go over to the kitchen. Next to my kitchen is a small bathroom, so as soon as she is near it my dad pushes her in and locked the door. Afterwards he called the police. About 20 minutes later they arrived, and when Karen heard them she started screaming through the bathroom door saying that we kidnapped her and how we refused to let her go. I tell the police what happened and offered to show them camera footage, as we have cameras all around the house. They took the footage and took Karen into custody until they looked over the footage. To sum this all up, Karen was stealing from us the whole week with stuff like radios and phones. We pressed charges and she get 18 months in jail for robberies and trespassing. Thank you for reading. Thank you. Next. My GF and I have been dating for over a month. Closer to 2 months by now. We're a lesbian couple. My mom is alright with it, of course, and my dad's iffy. He's got a you do you attitude and I appreciate it. Her parents, on the other hand, where do I even begin? Her mom's a pathological liar. When GF and I had just started dating, and were still hiding it from them, I'd invited her to my birthday celebration. Her mom told her that my mom called to let her know it was cancelled. You see, the problem with that is she doesn't have my mom's number. I contacted her directly. Later that day, my state's lockdown order was issued. Instead of sending a text to tell me, her mom straight up called and rubbed it in my face. I don't know if you heard, but there's a lockdown. GF's name, can't go, and it pretty much shut down your party for you. Yes, she actually said that. When my GF came out to her parents, they told her she was just going through a phase. They then said that because we haven't done anything romantic, we're not a real couple. 1. What can we even do right now? And 2. Hugs, kisses and chocolate is not her love language. Her parents then told her that if she continues to see me, they'll take away everything she owns, so she has no way of communicating with me. They even said they'll come to my house to yell at me. Little do her parents know that my entire family is full of aggressive assholes who aren't afraid to cut a bitch. Or, in this case, scream at one. Her dad is denying her lesbianism entirely. GF has pretty much nothing to do right now, so she stares out the window. Honestly can relate. One of her neighbors passed by and her dad said staring at boys again I see. He was in college, she's not even a senior in high school. He claims I'm a bad influence and I'm teaching her bad habits. I have never even met the guy, he won't give me a chance. Right now, we're still dating. I'm using a fake account pretending to be a guy so we can date secretly. I'll update if anything goes wrong. Also, sorry for the semi-clickbait title. Update. This morning her mom tried to drag her to her post office, and when GF refused her mom called her a bitch and a brat, and said she wishes she could hit her. Shit's hit in the fan y'all. Thank you. Next. So this happened a couple months ago at my mum's birthday party. I'm not a massive party person, so I retreated to my room to play video games. I love Doom, so I played that. A few minutes later I hear someone coming up the stairs. I pause the game as my mum's friend's entitled shit biscuit walks in. EB, what are you playing? Me, nothing. EB, I want to play. Let me play, now. Me, okay, I discreetly switch to Rocket League and hand him the controller. He plays an online match and loses and launched the controller at the wall, almost breaking it me. Hey, don't do that. EP, this is lame. I'm going to go eat chocolate. Me, okay, fine then. He leaves, so I switch back to Doom. What I didn't know was that he was going to get chocolate and then come back up to my room. He walked in on me sawing a demon in half with a chainsaw and ran downstairs screaming. I heard him and ran downstairs, and forgot to pause the game. What's wrong? I said, EP, what do you think you're doing? Exposing my baby to such violence? Me, I didn't. He snuck in. EP, I don't care. How dare you? My dad stepped in, knowing what was up. Dad, listen Karen, that's not her name. It wasn't his fault. He just walked in on him. How dare you call me a liar? EP said. EP, give Emmy the Xbox. To make up for this. Me, no way. I bought it with my own money and all the games. You're not having it. EB, mummy, can I have the Xbox? EP, yes sweetie, go and get it dearie. Yeah, she said it twice. Me, no. I chased him upstairs. He unplugged my Xbox and picked it up. I snatched it off him. He fell on his ass and started wailing like a hellsent banshee. EP came rushing in looking like a tomato driving a fire engine. What are you doing to my baby, you monster? Me, he just fell over. It wasn't my fault. EP, you're lying. Give that Xbox to him. He deserved it. Me, no, it's mine. EP, I'll take it myself. Then she started to snatch it off me just as my dad came in. My hero. He knew exactly what was going on. He exploded. Dad, put that down you FKING obese cow. I swear to FKING God if you don't put that down now I am going to F-king lose it. EM was taken aback and pretty much shuffled out, without the Xbox, carrying a screaming EB. Me and my parents still laugh about it now. And I finished Doom. Thank you. Next. Please delete if not allowed. I have lots of stories about my own entitled parents, but this is about my grandmother, on dad's side. My whole life she has been in and out of my life, even though she lived right next door. She never wished my younger sister and I happy birthday or anything. I never cared about gifts, but a few weeks after she'd always give $20 each and that's it. Or the rare time she's buy something it'd too small. I found out the only reason we'd ever get anything is because my aunt, dad's sister, would always bring it up. I know some of you will say but she's old and forgetful. That may be so, but whenever I went over I saw she had all the family's birthdays listed on the wall so she wouldn't forget. She never forgot anyone else's. I remember my cousins would always brag about the $100 they got from her for their birthdays and how she went to their parties. Or the gifts they got all the time for her. She was always invited to ours but never went. The way the houses were was my grandparents, ours, then my aunt's. We lived right next to each other. But she would always visit my cousins but never us. And yes, I did try visiting her but we'd always be ignored, rushed out, or all she'd talk about is my cousins. It was heartbreaking as we tried so hard. She even would spend the time to video call our older sister in another province but didn't take the time for us. I found out that this is all probably my parents' fault as they told her to stop trying to tell them how to parent. But should that really have affected how she treated my sister and I? When I graduated my cousin did too and she congratulated him but not me. It broke me so much. When I finally discovered my love for making jewelry is when we started to get close. But that got ruined when dad, who's just like his mother, chased me away with mental abuse. In another story, she made jewelry when she was younger so we made up designs together and it was great. I was around 19, a year after high school. We got so close over this time, but all good things come to an end. Dad convinced my grandmother to side with him. As I lived over an hour and a half away and worked full time I had no chance to talk to her about why I suddenly left. 5 months had passed. When I went to my uncle's, not by blood, more like a godfather, for the weekend before my birthday I was planning to stop in and explain myself as things had cooled down by then. But the day before I was going to visit my uncle was called to an emergency. Firefighter/first responder. When he got back he had another family friend with him. They sat me down. It was my grandmother. She had a sudden heart attack and it destroyed me. I never got to explain that I still loved her, that I missed her, that I left for my own safety and health. Her death is what brought my parents and I back together. And shortly after I found out I was pregnant with my son. She had other great-grandchildren before. My sister had 3 at the time. She was looking forward to my cousin's wife giving birth to a son and my older sister also had a boy on the way. I'd like to think she'd be excited for mine as well. I was planning on naming my child after her and my other grandmother if it was a girl to honor them bother. But I named him after my 2 grandfathers instead. My entitled grandmother had changed in the last few years of her life and was an amazing woman. I'm sure she had her reasons for ignoring us. So she probably was an amazing woman this whole time. I just regret not seeing it sooner. My biggest regret was never saying goodbye.